So I never really quite got exactly what the value was of this trait of mine, which is to be generally like in social situations and even at home, like when I'm in private, to be like pretty quiet, withdrawn, reserved. And I reached some insight about that yesterday as I was contemplating one of the aspects of this self-authoring program that I was going through. And it was defining that as a trait that could be associated with or put toward the use of some virtue. And I was thinking about that and being quiet, or not being too loud. And it's sort of the way that the question was framed was put me into a situation where I had to think about it in terms of a virtue. Okay, so that's the point I was trying to get to. And I realized that the value in that for me has been that has been that it provides this backdrop or this negative space essentially for when I need to be assertive and like when it's important for me to be assertive in my life, and the times that I've actually stuck up for myself or confronted somebody on the behalf of somebody else, or put a barrier up to someone who was encroaching too much into my space, or defining what I needed to do according to what they wanted when they didn't have a good argument as to why I should be doing it the way that they wanted. For instance, that's just, I could find plenty of examples of that. But so I think in those instances, the backdrop of me being pretty much quiet and reserved in social situations, except if I feel really comfortable, then it lends some extra weight to when I need to be authoritative, not authoritarian, authoritative. So that was an enlightening moment for me to realize that this one of my, just sort of generic traits as one of my generic personality traits can actually be focused to some value. And I was actually able to articulate what that value was and find instances where I needed to connect them to that idea that your traits can become your virtues. So one instance that I thought I also thought about this in terms of, like, I've noticed about myself before that I tend to have the ability or accidentally or purposefully, depending on how conscious I am of it in the moment, I have the tendency to be able to surprise people with aspects of my personality. And I think that that's basically a neutral ability, but I can use it for good or for ill. Like, it can be kind of a nasty thing to do to somebody to just drop some startling thing into a conversation or out of nowhere. So I don't want to do that. But I do think that can be used in the attainment of virtue. So that's what I'm kind of interested in with this new enlightenment for I just need to be aware of more situations where it's important for me to be assertive and claim that ground as being kind of like this quiet, reserved person to enhance any potential moment or scenario where I have to sort of step out of that role into a more direct, assertive role. So this self-authoring thing has been really enlightening at almost every step. So I know I talk about it a lot. I'll say another thing that's interesting to me, and that's heartening, and that I think should bring all of us some excitement and satisfaction that there's some justice and goodness left in the world as we go forward, which is that so many people that I know, that particularly people that I found interesting that I want to cultivate relationships with in the past month or two, have told me that they are sort of hip to or on to Jordan Peterson, and have asked me what I thought about him, and it sparked a lot of questions. I don't mean to be like fetishize this guy or anything. Like I'm aware that I keep bringing him up in the show, but it's really deep, the stuff that he brings to the table, and he brings it with such passion and conviction and definity that it's inspiring, and it makes me want to do the same. And I have, I think, some way to go before I get to that level of persuasiveness, of importance, depth, and stuff. But as I dig sort of deeper into myself and gain, more elements of self-knowledge, and not only just self-knowledge, but also some practical, applicable ways to connect these disparate parts of myself, connect those together into a solid framework, the more fulfilled I feel that my life is becoming. And I think that would be true for you as well if you decide to go down that path. So I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to encourage everybody who's listening to this or watching this to go and go to selfauthoring.com and see if it seems like it'd be a good fit for you. If you're already are prone or have a tendency to write down your thoughts and record your thoughts in any sort of way, whether you journal or if you've done even any talk therapy or anything like that, I encourage you to go and just check it out and see. It's linked. They have a bunch of information on their page. So, just to be clear, I'm not being paid or anything to do this. I just think it's been valuable to me. So I want to share and spread that on to other people. So this is a bit under the 10-minute mark. Again, we're now on iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn, which is another podcast app. So if you go there, check us out, subscribe on the YouTube page and on iTunes. And this is John Davey. I'm your host, and you've been listening to Have a Good Time.